You know what the most confusing thing is to somebody who is trying to get in IT? And that is trying to explain something to them right away and being way too technical right off the bat. So let's say somebody asked you to explain what Active Directory is. How would you do it? Would you suddenly start talking about domain and start talking about user accounts, group policies, and all that stuff? They would be like, what? What are you talking about? In this video, I'm going to show you what Active Directory is to somebody who's never been familiarized with Active Directory whatsoever. They've never heard of it. I'm going to explain it to them in such a way that they can relate to, so it's easy to understand. As simple as that. After that, if they're interested in Active Directory, then it'd be much easier to start from there. Think about it. I explained it to you what it is in a simple terms, and then once you figure out that first part of it, then you can start to look into technical aspects of it. Imagine just trying to teach somebody how to drive. You can show them, hey, this is the steering wheel, this is how steering wheel moves, these are the brakes, this is the gas pedal, you step on that, and then you brake on this, and then you steer like that. Those are the basics. The only way they can learn how to drive later is by letting them use it, letting them drive the car, and then afterwards they will learn how to drive car really well. But it's going to take some time. So this is why I'm going to explain Active Directory in a simple way to understand. So that way, if you're interested in IT, this can get you there. All right, let's have a look to see what I'm talking about here. Let's see if I can succeed in explaining what Active Directory is to people who have no clue what Active Directory is. Alright, here we go guys, but before I proceed, please take 1 second to like this video. I really appreciate it. It makes a big difference in exposure of this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. So here we are. This is virtual machine with Active Directory or Server 2019 data center running. What we're going to do is we're going to actually work and add some people into the Active Directory. But before I do that, let me explain to you what Active Directory is to those people who don't understand that. And by the way, my teaching in this is very unorthodox, the meaning that I don't go by the book in the sense that you sit down and they say, go to this chapter and learn this. And, you know, there is a order that you followed going through the book. Well, what I'm going to do is explain it to you in a way where it actually makes sense. At least I hope it comes across as something that makes sense. So Active Directory is basically a place within a server that has your login credentials, meaning your login ID for that computer. So let's say you start working at a company and that company says, okay, you're hired now, congratulations. Here's your login ID and password. So you get your login ID, let's say your name is Bob Johnson, and you type in Bob Johnson or whatever it is as your login ID. And then they give you a password so you can log into the computer. You sit down at the computer, you use those credentials, your login credentials to log into the computer. Well, those credentials are actually coming from the Active Directory. And Active Directory within the server, within Windows Server, is actually located here. So if you click on Start button and then you click Windows Administrative Tools, and then you select Active Directory Users and Computers. So get it, you as somebody who's going to use the computer is the user. Get it? You use that login information to use the computer, so Active Directory users and computers are going to be located here. We're going to simply connect or simply click on that. So as soon as this loads up, we're going to add, and I'm going to show you where the users are as well. It's very simple. But we're going to add more users as a practice in this Active Directory. And if you want to follow along, you can download a trial version. You can see this is a evaluation version of server. If you want to install it on your virtual machine, which could be, in this case, I'm using Oracle VirtualBox software to install a virtual machine, meaning a virtual computer on my computer. And that way you don't have to have a second computer to run Active Directory on or run the server on. So you can download it. This is completely free. Okay, so we have now Active Directory users and computers. So you are the user. So guess where you would find your login ID? If you're thinking users where it says here, you'd be absolutely right. So your login ID would be in this folder. It's just like the folders that you have in your documents. You know, you go in here, let's say you open up your documents, and you know, you go to your documents here, and this is the folder with your documents, and inside of that you might have more folders and this and that. That's the exact same thing here within this server. There's a folder called users, and all the people that use computers, the users, will be inside of this folder. So to find yourself in the folder, you can just scroll down and look where is my login, you know. This is a fresh, usually you would see a lot of people in here within a company, you know. But, you know, we have some in here, so that's fine. But how would you find yourself in here? You can scroll through and just look for Bob. What did we say? Bob Johnson? Here is Bob. Bob J. Bob Johnson, right? I think I said Bob Johnson. But you could also right-click the folder and click Find, which makes it the best way to find yourself or anybody else for that matter. So let's say you start working help desk and Bob Johnson calls in and says, hey, can you look me up? I need you to reset my password. All you got to do is do what I did here. You right-click the folder, you know, you click Find like I showed you, and then just type in name, Bob J. I think I have him as Bob J in there. So I'm going to click Find, and there's Bob. And now we can go and make changes to it. But before we do any of that, let's kind of expand on this users part of it. We need to, in this scenario, in this practice, and if you have this installed, you might as well play along while we're doing this. I'm going to go at slower pace in this video just for that. We're going to add 5 more people in there, at least 5, I think. And we're going to come up with some names. So I'm going to come up with some common names. I'm going to say Susan Jackson. And then we're going to add her into that folder of the users because she's new. Susan just started working in accounting. We got to give Susan a login so she can sit down at the computer and log in, you know? And then we got Larry Buffett, I don't know, Larry Buffett, sure. And then Larry started working in accounting as well. They hired 2 people for this role-playing scenario. And then we have Mike. Let's see, what was his name? What could we give him his name? Mike Bobson. I don't know. I'm just coming up with names. And then we're going to create another one, and we're going to say Laura Bailey. And then one more, we're going to say, why am I struggling here? It's early in the morning, guys. For me, it's like 7 in the morning, so I'm struggling to come up with days. This is kind of silly. Okay, one more name. Come on, Irvin, you can do it. You can do it. I'm trying to psych myself up. Okay. Mary Pipkins. All right, that's good enough. So we got Susan Jackson, Larry Buffett working in accounting. Accounting group. And then we got Mike Bobson, Laura Bailey, and Mary Pipkins working in collections. All right, collections call center. So they're those collection reps, you know the ones that call you and collect the money, trying to collect money for you. Okay, so we got to give them login IDs and passwords so that way they can log into their computers wherever they might be sitting. Keep in mind, this is a domain. You can see how it's called techsupport.kobuman.com. This is a domain, meaning that it's a group of computers, as you can see here. that are in there, and usually this will be like populated with lots of computers and users, just to kind of keep it simple to understand. So domain is a group of computers and users for an organization. So this is how you organize and control their login access. So you got to have a way to control everybody's login in a single point, which in this case is this actor directory. So again, I'm not going to go into technicals. We're just going to learn what actor directory is in relation to just everyday work and people that use they use Active Directory without even knowing Active Directory. So meaning that once you get a login ID and password, you're using Active Directory indirectly. Active Directory gives you the credentials to log in. Okay, so we're going to add where's our sticky notes? Here it is, Susan Jackson. So to add new user, we can right-click the users folder and we can select new, and then guess what? She's a new user, correct? So we're going to add a new user. Other way of doing it is if you make sure that the users folder is selected and then just hover and then click here where it says create new user in the current container, meaning that whatever is selected is going to create it inside it. But I like to stick to this. So if you're new to computers, chances are you're going to start with basic as a basic technician or somebody who's working help desk, which is what you would have access to mainly. So you would right click and then go to new and then create new user. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start from the very basics. And first person is Susan Jackson. Susan, last name Jackson. Okay. And now we can tell her or basically tell her or give her a user login name. So this is the thing that I mentioned over and over again. This is what you use as your ID to log into any computer that is controlled by this domain, which is also known as domain controller, which is this server that we are literally inside of. Okay, so we're gonna give her a login ID, which could be anything. It could be combinations of letters and numbers, and that's fine. But we're gonna keep it simple here. So we're gonna call it Susan J. And if there are more than one Susan Jackson in there, and you want to keep the logins like simple like this, you may want to put in like Susan J2 or Susan J3 or something else that differs her from the other Susan Jackson, if there is another Susan Jackson. So for now, we're just going to say Susan J, and we're just going to leave it at that. So once we click next here, we can give her a temporary password. So the way you do that is literally just typing in whatever password you want, but make sure that you don't make any changes here. You see how by default it says here, there's a check mark here where it says user must change password at the next login. So whatever we type here as her password might as well be something very simple, in the sense that she's going to be forced to change the password anyways the first time she tries to use that password. Not necessarily a secure way of doing it, but we're going to keep it simple here. So I'm going to type in new user 1 and then type it again, new user 1. So this way she's going to be forced to change the password. And if you're doing this and giving somebody a temporary password, so let's say you are working help desk and Susan calls you and says, I can't log into my computer, you can change your password as well, but make sure there is a secure way of conveying what her temporary password is. So we're going to type in, this time we just use new user 1 as a simple password, and then we're just going to click next because she's going to be forced to change it anyway. Okay, now Susan Jackson is in there. Now she can go to any computer and log in using those login credentials, meaning login ID and password. But then, and that's fine, she's in there, but she is now in a general group out there in the environment. She's still not, this is not organized, right? She's here right next to Susan, right next to all of these other people that are in there. So they're all in the same group, which is not organized way of doing things. And then keep in mind, she is now hired to work as somebody in accounting group. So we have to have a way of doing this. And I'm going to show you how to do that too. It's very, very simple. But for now, let's just create another login, and that's for Larry Buffett here. We're going to add him, and then we're going to go in there and we'll do organizing. But for now, we're going to right-click users again, go to new, and then we're going to click user, and then we're going to create the login ID just like we did for Susan here. We're going to create one for Larry Buffett. And we're going to call it, I'm going to give him a login ID, Larry B. I'm pretty sure he's the only Larry B. So if there's another Larry Buffett in there, we're going to, we know we would get an error, so we would, but in this case, it's fine. So again, we're going to give him, same deal, we're going to give him a new password, temporary password, we're going to call it new password. And again, I can't stress this enough, the company you work for may have different security requirements when it comes to giving new passwords. I distracted myself from that. Okay, new user what? They're gonna always make sure that this is checked to force them to change the password so they have their own password for security. And then we're going to click next. And then Larry Buffett is in here. Okay, so now we have Larry Buffett and we got Susan Jackson. We can see they're highlighted because they're, we created them recently. And we have to keep in mind that these guys, now they can log into any computer, which is fine. But when it comes to specific groups, for example, in this case, they work for accounting group. The accounting group chances are will have different security settings. Let's just call it that. Security settings compared to somebody who works in collections call center. So chances are security settings for accounting group are going to be completely different from collections. So we got to make sure that we put them in their own group. It's literally just a group of people, right? It's just a group of people that belong to certain department or, I guess, organization, if you will. But in this case, accounting. So what we're going to do here, we're going to, and to keep it simple, this is not necessarily a way to organize this. Again, this is just me explaining how Active Directory works for people who don't know what Active Directory is. This is not for system administrators video. So we're going to right-click, just to keep it in the same place. We're going to right-click Users folder again, just so we can get to this part where it says New. And there, guess what we're going to create? We're going to create a group. We're going to create a group. But before we do that, and what I was going to do is create a group called Accounting, right? But let's make sure that the group is not in here already. I don't see it. I don't see a group called Accounting. Let me just do a quick search. Right-click, find. I'm going to type in Accounting. Yeah, there's no group named Accounting. So we're going to have to create that group. We're going to make sure that they're they're grouped, right? So we're going to go right-click, we're going to go to New and select Group. And then we're going to call it Accounting, right? We're going to call it Accounting. So, and what this literally does is creates a way to keep all the same people that belong to the same group, in this case accounting, in one place. It's literally, that's all it does for now. That's all you need to know as somebody who is wanting to learn Active Directory from very, very beginning. And where it says group scope and all of that, there is a reason you might want to change this, for example, to domain local. But I'm not going to expand on this again because this is just for somebody who never seen Active Directory. So we're just going to keep it super simple, and I'm going to leave everything as it is. Okay, just keep in mind for those people who are watching here and say, oh, you know, you did this or that. No, this is me literally talking to the people who have no clue what Active Directory is. No offense to anybody. So, again, sorry about that little rant. But then again, we got to put these two people, Susan Jackson and Larry Buffett, we got to put them somewhere, and that is accounting group. So we're going to create a group called accounting, and we're simply going to put them in there, and I'll show you how. It's very simple. So now we have a group in our Active Directory. This is accounting group. And for everybody that works in accounting, which includes these two new people that they just hired, we're going to put them inside of that group. So we found accounting, it's there, and the way we're going to add those people in there, we're just going to double click on it, and we're going to add members. You see how it says, it's literally the next thing there, it says add members. And we're going to add Susan and Larry in there. But let me show you again. So here's the group. You can see it's a security group, global in this case, and they belong to accounting. And this is what you would do after you put them in there. So we got Susan, or we're going to have to find her again. But there's Larry, and we're going to have to add him to that group. So after we created Larry and Susan, we're going to add them in there. So we find accounting, and then we're just going to double click it. Or if you can't find it in there, we're going to select find, and we're going to type in accounting. So there are multiple ways of finding this group. Anyways, the point is, what I'm saying is that we need to add them in there, so that way it's organized. We got to have organization within this Active Directory. Okay. So we're going to double click accounting, and then we're going to add members to this accounting group, because remember, we hired them. So we're going to click on members. They're members of the group. They're hired for accounting. And then we're going to, in the second tab where it says members, if you're following along, and I'm purposely going slower just so you know, so you can catch up, we're going to add them in there. So if you go down and then you click add, we can simply now look for these two people. And I know this kind of looks like, hey, this is just a search box. Where is the drop-down menu? Where is, like, you know, this looks simple. And that's okay. This is actually really good. This box is really good at finding people. So again, we are in the members tab. We're going to add new members to this accounting group. We're going to click add. And here we can simply just type in Susan. Matter of fact, we're just going to type in Susan J. Let's see if it'll find it. Let's see if it's good at finding it. There it is. It found Susan Jackson right away, right? This is Susan Jackson, we know. And if there are multiple ones, you would know as well. But if you really want to be very specific, you can type in full name, and then you can confirm that, yeah, indeed, I've just added Susan. And remember, we gave her Susan J as her login, right? Susan J, this is where she's going to type in at the computer to log in. And it says at techsupport.kobuman.com, meaning at the server level, or I should say at the domain level, or at the Active Directory level. These are all the same things that I literally just said. So it's at server level, at server level, and meaning that her credentials coming from the server. Her credentials are coming at or from domain, which is the same thing. Kobuman.com or techsupport.kobuman.com is the name of the domain. Anyways, see, I'm starting to get technical here right away. See, it's just a bad habit. Anyways, this is where she's getting her login from this place where it says tech support, which is the server that we're working on right now. So we know it's Susan J. So we're going to click OK. There she is. She's now added to this group. She's now a member of accounting group. And we're going to do the same thing for Larry, right? We got to add Larry in there. I'm going to type in Larry. Let's see if just Larry comes up just by typing in Larry. There he is, Larry Buffett. I didn't have to type in anything else. And we know it is the same Larry because we gave him Larry B login right there. Okie dokie. So that's simple, guys, right? This is simple, basic part of it. Matter of fact, if this is all you learn as, you know, somebody who is going to do help desk for now, or just basic tech support, like, this is all you need to do. Even if you're thinking about doing desktop support, chances are this is all you need to know when it comes to Active Directory. And I'm definitely going to expand on this. But since we're done now with these first two people, we're going to add the other ones too. Once I'm here, I want to explain what the point is of what the further point is of putting people in in a group within Active Directory. So we know that accounting department has two members. These two members, the reason they're organized, so this is Active Directory is all about organizing things. All about organizing things. If it's a huge company especially. And we can see that we have Larry and Susan in there. And now they're grouped. So you know how when you log into a computer at a company, or if you've never seen that, but what happens is you log into a company's computer using these login IDs, using these login passwords. You know, let's say Susan goes in and she just started and she logs in, and then suddenly she realizes there are certain things she cannot do on a computer, or she suddenly realizes that she's missing icons on her computer, just like we are seeing here on this virtual server. She's missing all these things, or suddenly she realizes that she cannot, for example, read files or create new files or anything like that. That's chances are because she doesn't have the security, or she's not allowed because of the security to do these things. So chances are you can set this up that once you just create somebody like we did and you put them in there, like, you know, Susan Jackson just sits here and let's say she's not part of a group, chances are she wouldn't be able to do any of these things like create new files, you know, access icons or any of that stuff. So the point of us putting her in accounting group here is that so she can get those specific permissions that accounting department is allowed to do. So accounting department has certain permissions. They're allowed to do certain things. So that's the whole point of putting somebody into a group. Again, I'm trying to explain this in a simple way without actually going to system administrator part of it and creating actual security groups and all of this system admin stuff. This is just for somebody to understand what Active Directory is. Okay, now to complete our practice, we're going to add these other people into a collections group as well. And if there is no collections group, we're going to create a collections group. So we got Mike Bobson. We're going to do this again. We're going to right-click users, and we're going to click New User. And we're going to, is it Bob Bobson? No, it's Mike Bobson. Mike Bobson. And we're going to give him an ID of Mike B. So we got Mike Bobson. There are no other Mikes probably. And we're going to give him a login ID of Mike B. Again, at techsupport.com. And yes, if I were to get technical, you can have multiple domains within same Active Directory. This is why you have the drop down here. But anyways, I digress. This is a video. I know I apologize for repeating myself, but this is a video to explain what Active Directory is to somebody who's not familiar with it. And we're going to give him a password, new user 1. All right, new user 1. And make sure you stick around because I will actually show you how to reset their password, because they will, chances are, contact you, say, I can't log in again, so we got to go in. Sometimes their accounts get locked out or even disabled. Anyways, we got Mike Bobson in there, and let's create another one, Laura Bailey. All right, new. Excuse me. Laura Bailey. We're going to call her Laura B. By the way, this is not, the login IDs are not case sensitive. So just because I put Laura B as in cap B, like capital letter B and capital L, doesn't matter. New user 1, new user 1. So we created Laura in here, and then we got Mary Pipkins. Again, we're just only creating basic login for them. Mary Pipkins. Mary P. All right. We got all those three added in there. So now that we know they are part of collections group, we gotta, put them into collections. They're part of call center. They're going to be taking collection calls. So let's see if there's collections group in there. We're going to right-click the users, collections, find now. And again, when it comes to further organizational point of this, just to touch on just a little bit, somebody who's a system administrator, chances are most of these, the login IDs and group that you see in here, they will be gone from here. And then you would have different folders in here that control different organizations. So you may have a folder that's called groups, separately. I don't want you to worry about that now. I just want to show you this part of it, how this actually functions. But when it comes to organizational point, this is something it would look different. Is what my point is. It would look different from what this is. This is just basic how it looks like once you install Windows Server. Okay, so there's no group collections. So we're going to have to create this group to put them in their own group called collections. So again, we're going to right-click, new, and then create a group. And we're going to call it collections. Matter of fact, we're going to label it call center. Okay. And now we're going to add those three people to this group. So here's our security group for collections. We're going to put them in collections group because they're part of collections. Again, once we open this, we're going to add members. And it's the second tab again. We're going to click members. And then we're going to add them in there. We're going to click add. And just like we did before, let's see, who was the first one that we created? Mike Bobson. Mike Bobson. Actually, let's do this. Let's just type in Mike. Let's see what happens. Aha! You see? Once you type in Mike, just Mike, you can see there is another Mike in here. There is a Mike Moser. But we know that Mike Moser is not the guy. We know it's Mike Bobson. Good old Mike B. So we're going to add Mike Bobson, right? Yeah. See, this can actually be fun too, right? So we got Mike Bobson added to our collections group. Now we're going to add somebody else. Who was it? I know it's Mary, but there was the Laura Bailey. Let's type in Laura. Laura. Where's Laura? All right, there's only one Laura, so that's cool. We know it's Laura Bailey. Laura B, we're going to add Laura B in here. And then we got Mary. Of course, we can't forget about Mary, guys. We got to add Mary into the group. Otherwise, Mary might log into the computer and suddenly realize that she can't do anything. She'll still be able to log into a computer, but chances are she won't be able to do anything because of special permissions for collections. And there's our Mary P, Mary Pipkins. All right. Now we added her. And then, again, just to kind of touch on this, you don't necessarily have to worry about this as somebody who is, adding people to Active Directory. Chances are the members of will have things in here. And basically that would, again, control what all of these people in collections can do. That's what that does in here. So we're going to leave it at that. And now they're part of collections. Now, whatever collections is allowed to do, these people are put in the collections group. Now they can do all of these things. Okay. So now, as somebody who might start doing basic tech support or help desk, they may get a call from, for example, Larry here. Larry calls in and says, I can't log into my computer. Well, we can look them up in Active Directory, scroll through, but the best way to find them is to right-click the user's folder and then select Find. I always say this. This is the easiest way to navigate this thing. Did I say Larry? Larry Buffett. I'm sorry, guys. It's early in the morning for me. And, sometimes my short memory, to be honest, is not that great. So we search for Larry, and Larry Buffett comes up. And just to show you, if we were to search for, was it Mike? If we were to search for Mike, there will be multiple Mikes. So you might want to be specific when you search. So let's say we're searching for Mike here. You can see there's 2 Mikes again, right? But we know it's Larry. So we're going to search for Larry. There's Larry Buffett. We found him. Easy peasy. We're going to double click on him. I'm sorry, we're not going to double click on him. This is details about their. Anyways, I'm trying to keep it simple, so we're going to close that for now. This is another video. So we found Larry. We just want to reset his password. That's it. We just want to reset his password because he can't log in or maybe unlock his account. So we're going to right-click Larry here. It's very simple. We found Larry. Whether it's in here or inside of this big thing where we have to scroll down, it's going to be the same thing. And once you find Larry Buffett, we're going to right-click with the mouse, and then we're going to, guess what? We're going to reset password. And here we can set new password. And again, it kind of looks like similar to when we created his login ID, right? Remember this thing where it says user must change password and next log in? And it kind of gives you this thing where it says user must log off and then log on again for changes to take effect. So we're going to have to tell him that if he's logged in already into computer, that he needs to log off. That's what it says here before we change his password. So best thing to do is tell him restart your computer, reboot. And it looks just like when we created his password. Sometimes people try it too many times and they lock themselves out. There is a limit to how many times you can or try to use the wrong password. So if he is locked, what we want to do is click here where it says unlock the user's account. This will do it once we click OK as well. But we're going to give him a new password. So we're going to give him a new password. And you can call it whatever you want, depending on what security policy is for your company. You can just call it Monday 1. Let's say today's Monday. Let's say today's Friday. You can call it Friday 1, just so it's simple for him to kind of type in. I try to make these simple and keep them very simple for them, as long as I'm allowed to, right? So whatever the password is, you have to confirm it, and you tell him this is the new password. And whenever he tries it, he's going to be forced to change it so that way you don't know what his password is. And then we'll make sure that he's unlocked in case he tried way too many times the same old password. So chances are he might be locked. So this way we're going to unlock him. And now the password for Larry has been changed. We can tell Larry, okay, your new temporary password, keyword temporary password is Monday 1. You're going to have to change it. Make sure, make sure that you do so, and well, because otherwise he'll have to. You just tell him you'll be forced to change your password, so you'll have your own password. And that's that. We have reset Larry's password. Now there are other things within Active Directory that there are a lot of other things in Active Directory, but the point that I'm trying to make with this whole video is to explain to somebody who doesn't have a clue what Active Directory is. How many people I tell you what, within your household, you have people that everybody knows how to use a computer. Go to them and ask them, hey, do you know what Active Directory is? Do you know what domain is? What domain controller is? They won't know. Chances are really high they have no idea. So the only place you would encounter this is in a business environment. So if you're trying to get a job as a technician or help desk or whatnot, this is a really good intro and a way to introduce yourself to Active Directory. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. I purposely tried to go slow so that way everybody can understand it. And hopefully that worked. I hope so. All right, guys. I guess I'll show you my video outro so you can see my face. All right, let's get to that. I hope you find this video interesting and educational, because that's the whole point. Active Directory is not super complex. It can become complex, but only at the level of trying to actually build an Active Directory for a business where you have to make sure that certain aspects of security are in place. So if you're a system administrator, that's a whole nother thing. But even before you become a system administrator, you have to learn the basics of Active Directory, right? Again, I go back to my point or correlation with driving. You don't suddenly start driving like a professional driver until you actually start from basic stop and go. I hope this message comes off as clear and understanding. All right, I hope you like it. Thank you so much for taking a moment to like and share this video. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.